Chapter 3. Mo shuffled along the road towards the power plants. Perhaps he should explore where the house and his father's lush vegetable garden had been. He looked towards the river, beyond the places where Harold Wiseman and Grandpa's 2 sheds had stood. Concrete and steel destroyed the fertile soil that supported Dad's corn rows and currant bushes. Mo wanted to leave it till later, but his heart drew him towards the river, to the spot where an ugly chain-link fence enclosed the site of the house. He expected to find more anger and heartache. Instead, the lurking humanity and industrial workers surprised him. "That's the tree!" Mo's heart leapt, and for the first time since he had passed the gate, he smiled. As Mo drew nearer, he could see small red fruit dangling in the September sun. The tree survived, struggling just against the south side of the line header yard. Distorted and gnarled, but it had survived. Allowed to survive, Mo thought. He reached up and plucked the closest red apple, perfect and without blemish, as it had been waiting for him. He held it in his hand and remembered scooting around the corner of Dad's shop, plucking an apple, and Mo took a bite of the fruit. Juices washed his lips. The taste drew more memories. "Donnie, look out there!" Mom pointed to the kitchen window behind the family table. Bright spring sunshine poured through tinted green by the leaves of the crabapple tree. The waxwings were feasting on the flowers. Donnie watched as perhaps a dozen birds or more devoured the blooms for their sweet nectar. It seemed nature approved of their place. Mo's condemnation of industrialism weakened, at least his harsh judgment of those who labored for the corporations. Some of them, perhaps only the workers, but the bosses too, protected this precious tree. He looked around. The fertile space that Wayne Inslee had gardened so well, sharing Dad's joy of the land, now sat beneath a sterile gravel helipad. Mo's bitterness threatened to return. He did not know that another joyful surprise would soften his cantankerous judgment. One more bit of evidence of humanity still living in High Falls. Mo explored along the river bank and walked along the broken rock that large trucks had dumped there in 1963 to protect the town from the erosion caused by the log sluice. The rest of the space that mowed lawn had covered now hosted a tangle of poplar, birch, and pine. Nature was happy. The sight of the demolished log sluice disappointed Mo. So many memories focused on that bit of concrete. "We used to jump and dive from the throat of the thing into the black depths gouged into the river-bottom clay by the powerful flow of the sluice," Mo remembered, "and off the top side into the wash from No. 1 turbine tail race. Calvin and I were in the air, already committed in a joint jump, and looked down to see a big pike, maybe 15 pounds, sunning right below us. They now put these things into movies in slow motion, but it's always a shark or some scary science fiction monster with jaws open. It was that scary to us, and for the first time in my life, I experienced being aware of my total powerlessness to change an outcome as we hit the water. Of course, we just scared the crap out of that poor fish, but for a fraction of a second, we experienced the fear of doom." Mo smiled. His efforts to work up the road before the bridge took him to his other restorative discovery. He skirted around the swampy ground in the gully below where the cottage house had stood, past an ugly box that served as an office, and up the hill. A familiar stone shape sat on the rock outcrop that guarded the north side of the power plant access. "It's the memory stone!" Sudden, fierce excitement gripped Mo. "They moved it and saved it!" Mo had thought about this stone on the drive into the place. He knew from the satellite pictures that construction had totally disrupted the spot the stone originally occupied, at the west end of No. 2 Dam. He had feared they had simply thrown the rock aside. Now it sat in a place of honor, a monument to memory that went back through Mo's embracing the rock to 1907, when a faceless mason had carved a signature into his work in building Mo's place of remembrance. "I wish that I could have met the mason." Mo touched the warm surface. "And I wish I could embrace the men who valued the humanity of High Falls enough to save this stone a place of honor. There are still many good people connected to High Falls. I wonder if Tullio built these solid dry stone walls, especially here at No. 2 Tail Race." The memory rock carved in 1907 by the mason Tullio Pellegrini, with a tribute to Idione, who might have been a workmate or his wife. The name is most common in Chile. Gary Moulton, a schoolmate and Inco employee, had been responsible for saving the stone. Mo quietly walked on past the place he had visited hundreds of times as a child, now become special. He stopped on the crumpled stone above the frog pond. The broken rock slope still angled down to the gully of Pussy Willow Scrub, but a conduit now and a switch stand of some other bit of apparatus intruded into the space the old capacitor stand had occupied. It did not have the softness of the way the jumble of broken rock had filled the spot, or the tarred practicality of the old switch platform. It was sterile, industrial. Children scrambled from rock to boulder along the little ponds and brooks that trickled in the bottom of the deep gorge. Randomly, as young ones usually played, they explored the bulrushes and slimy rocks beneath the water for frogs and crabs. It was September, with a cooling breeze falling through the gorge, and most of the creatures were already seeking the winter mud homes. The sun warmed the rock, and the deep canyon protected everything from the wind. "Hey, Donnie," Brian called, "I found a frog." The larger boy tried to grab the creature, but it plopped into the deeper water and disappeared in the reeds. Donnie arrived too late. Ronnie came along a slab of granite on the edge of the rock bass pond where he had been watching a sunning fish. He was 2 years younger than the others were, but kept pace. They climbed the table rock above the bottom pond and gingerly worked down the crevice to the flat granite finger that channeled the flow east before allowing it to trickle into the last pool. Sometimes in summer they were barefooted here and could feel the rock. Centuries of weather and rushing water had raised lines of harder rock that could feel funny on their feet. The surface looked like wood grain. Now, in September, runners covered Donnie's feet. The trickle of water gurgled over the small falls. No frogs gazed at them from the edges the way they would in the summer heat. Donnie worked along the eastern edge of the pool, looking for frogs, carefully setting his runners on the smooth surface that sloped precipitously into the water. The far side formed a vertical cliff about 5 feet high. The dark rock glistened in the sunshine, and wind-whipped rivulets sparkled from the pond's surface. Donnie felt a strange sensation, as if someone were watching. He stood and looked up the steep slope of broken rock, and saw an old man who looked like he was dreaming, with his eyes open, but friendly and somehow familiar. "I'll be back soon," Donnie shouted to the others who were working their way back upstream. "I have to go." Most startled from his reverie. Children were playing at the frog pond, just as Mo and his friends had done so long ago. He glanced around. No cars, no houses. Where have they come from? One kid looked up at Mo as if the boy had been expecting him. The lad labored carefully through the scrub pussy willows between the broken rock and the solid granite ledge. Still afraid of snakes, Mo remembered. Always watch unless he step on or near some harmless garter or fox snake. The woman of the town had taught them to hate snakes, actually to fear nature. No one learned to differentiate between a milk snake and the Massasauga rattler that did not live in the valley. Maybe it was just the woman's way of trying to make sure the kids played safely. Mo had learned the lesson well, even if that had not been the mother's intentions, and had struggled for a lifetime to unlearn that silliness. The boy scrambled up the broken stones, sending small shards rattling to the bottom. Mo remembered that sound from the many times he had climbed this very slope. The flat stone shards tinkled like broken glass. "I'm Donnie." The youngster made his way around the newly constructed transformer pen. He seemed self-assured and showed no fear of this stranger. A young Mo would have been more cautious. Donnie acted as if he already knew Mo. The boy had dark brown hair, cut to a brush, and an innocent smile that fit his age, but his eyes startled Mo. They did not blink and expressed a mysterious depth that no youngster should possess, as if he had decades of learning and wisdom. "Donnie seems familiar." "I'm Mo. I see you and your friends are having fun." Mo and Donnie turned towards the ponds below. The friends had disappeared, and all was silent. He and Donnie were alone. "Gone up to the rock bass pond," Mo thought in explanation. That other bigger pond just upstream filled the hollow at the bottom of 7-meter vertical cliffs, where before the dams water had poured over the drop and scoured deep. Mo remembered the hard climb up the notch in the rock beside the pond, where they often went up to the higher level. Mo gazed up the hill beside the powerhouse. It would have been a struggle with the old natural path, he remembered, but the new construction made it impossible. He wished he could take that familiar route past the bottomless pond towards the forebay. He sighed, if I could only return as a 10-year-old. Donnie sat the 6-quart wooden basket carefully into a flat crevasse near the big depression in the rock. Sphagnum and bushes bearing succulent berries filled the hollow, with a few plants of prized black varieties scattered here and there. Donnie especially loved the taste of the black ones, but he would not today. Berry picking was his first genuine attempt at earning money. He took the old lard tin with the heavy wire handle and undid his belt, running it through the looping handle and rebuckling. Years later, he would remember those pails. Dad made the containers, and they used them for blueberries on the hills, raspberries, and currants in the garden. At 13 years old, he never thought about it, and worked enthusiastically. People paid good money, maybe $3 for a full 6-quart basket. Mum was his marketing manager, selling to her friends in Espanola. When the berries were plentiful like today, it was as good a rate as his father made in the power plants. Donnie set to work, expertly stripping the lush fruit and dropping the handful after handful into the tin. He was good at it. Along with his brother and sister, Donnie had been on the Blueberry Hills every summer since he could remember. Family times of picnicking and playing on the old tree stumps, burnt out in weather from years of logging and forest fires. The afternoon sun warmed him as Donnie dreamt of spaceships and war heroes to break the repetitive tedium of work. I pick blueberries there, Donnie said as if reading Mo's mind. It's a nice, safe place, and I sit on top of the rock, look over the big pipe, and see the other plant. I sell them at a good price, $3 for 6 quarts. Mo smiled. If you were lucky, $3 could get you 200 grams now, and the less tasty farm variety at that. He had picked berries in the years just before he turned 16 and landed a real summer job at the Espanola paper mill. Mo had sat in that spot, resting his hands on the weathered granite, roughened even more with splotches of dry green lichen, and saw the view that Donnie described. But Mo thought the trees probably had now grown thick, and one could not see past the dark blue penstock that carried water from the forebay to number 5 turbine. The dam above the penstock ran to the west about 200 meters, restraining the water, and below, towards the big ponds, dripping water and exfoliated concrete, made for an exciting playground. Mo had played there many times. We had fun walking to the dam near the big pond. It was fun to play below that dam, too, but the company filled it with gravel and it became boring. Donnie frowned. Sometimes I think I'm playing there again, before, they wrecked it. Mo knew. However, we were older when they did it, he thought, and the place had already lost its appeal. The security guard glanced at her screen. She had left the camera pointed at the car. It was still there. There are lots of places he could go other than past the fence. Then she noticed a flashing LED on her panel. It was the motion detector with a security camera on High Falls number 2. Damn broken annunciator, she thought. She switched the monitor. The high-definition camera gave her a panoramic view from the bridge to the new switch stand and line header. There he is, she frowned. Damn trespasser, he seems to talk to himself. She called her boss. Who's on the road? He frowned at the screen. Warwick, she read from the roster. He already checked High Falls and may be over at the Vermilion now. Send him to round up the old coot. Warn him the guy looks harmless, but he might be demented. The supervisor watched as the man gesticulated and seemed to talk to the ground, and then reached out as if he grasping the air. She punched up Steve Warwick's cell number.